Ben arrivati ragazzi su un'altra nuova puntata del Calice Nero. Oggi si parla in maniera molto lenta perché ci sono i funeral, direttamente funeral doom metal. Quindi ragazzi, oggi pregate per la vostra vita perché se non seguite la puntata non so se arrivate domani. Infatti Arrogat ha seguito il consiglio di seguire la puntata. Buonasera Margherita Vanarca e ricordo
Buonasera a tutti, si è un po' diciamo indaffarati in questa prima parte. Intanto ho avvisato il nostro ospite Ek dei Funeral che tra poco entra in diretta. Intanto ringraziamo tutte le persone che hanno condiviso i video, i Funeral stessi che hanno condiviso sulla propria pagina e ovviamente vi mandiamo al nostro gruppo Telegram in descrizione perché con la nostra associazione Volto Lab abbiamo fatto una collaborazione con un'agenzia inglese per le band italiane, quindi per supportare l'underground, quindi cliccate dentro il nostro link e detto ciò, senza perdere ulteriore tempo.
Però aspetta, prima di far entrare anche, state attenti domenica, questa domenica, non dico altro, state attenti.
Domenica
ci sarà una tripla video interview.
Sì, sarà un episodio proprio dalla mattina alla sera, quindi ci saranno delle belle. Quindi, senza perdere tempo, annunciamo il nostro ospite. So, guys, after some announcement of the next episode, I will switch language. I hope to talk in English without making major mistakes. And I want to announce you the guest of this episode, which is Ek from the band Funeral. Hello, Ek, and welcome to Il Calice Nero.
Thank you. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure for us to have you in the show. But I know that the maestro have a lot of questions to you. So without wasting too much time, I will pass the word to the maestro. He will talk in Italian and we can start right after this speech together. Vai, maestro.
Con questa candela voglio chiedere appunto anche dei funeral. Come riesci ancora a creare un funeral doom diverso da altre 1500 band e come riuscite a creare quella lentezza morbosa che entra all'interno della testa delle persone? Stop.
Okay, so as you can see, you want to make this first question in a proper mood, so with the candle, because you want to ask you, Ek, about the sound of funeral and the composition of funeral. So in his vision, the maestro say, in my own opinion, funeral make their own funeral doom in their own way. They have like a trademark. If you listen a song from them blind, you will notice that they are playing music, so they are funeral. So you want to know about how achieving this slowless mood, the funeral mood, and also the concept behind the music, but also with the music. So making like a parallel between music and art in general to go in depth about funeral and also to enjoy them for the people that are already watching in a different way. So be merged in the, let's call the funeral universe, so the funeral mood.
Well, it's a pretty complex question. Not pretty sure if I understood it, but you want me to explain the sort of the sound or the history or?
Yeah, both ways. So both the sound and the achievement of your own sound, but also the history that make you guys play like that.
Yeah, you know, it all started in our teens, really. You know, after being inspired by other heavy music like, you know, Sabbath, Metallica, Candlemass, and those kind of bands, and we wanted to create something similar, something really heavy, which we couldn't buy, or you know, there were nobody in Norway who played that sort of music. So we really wanted to create something extreme, something really, really heavy. And then, of course, you know, Paradise Lost came around, and you know, the first Cathedral and those kinds of bands. And I think that those bands sort of put out the rules in a way. So we sort of, and we wanted even, you know, we wanted it even slower and darker and more melancholic. So that's and inspired by classical music as well. And that's really been the main thing all these 30 years we've been doing this. It's really the same inspiration, I think.
Okay, really, really interesting. So, the question I want to make to you before translation, it's about something that I usually ask to bands like you guys that are from Norway, so the North Europe, that is different, of course, even if we have some links between the South Europe as we do in Italy. So, what do you think about the influence of your own motherland in your music? So, for example, the forest, the mountains, the overall weather, the people. In what way that kind of environment influenced you? Of course, in Norway there is a strong music scene, extreme music scene than Italy, of course. But I'm not talking only about the music scene. I talk in general with the life, the neighborhood and stuff like that.
It's very, very important, at least for me. You know, I've always drawn a lot of inspiration from nature, from mountains. My family had this cottage really high up in the mountains. You know, I walked my childhood up there, so it's still very important to me. You know, I'm out walking in nature every day. In the forest or near water, or it's really inspiring, really motivating for me creatively.
Okay, so really interesting to know that side, and I hope that people that are listening can have a different perspective while they listen funeral next time. Okay,
yeah,
some pause for Ek and more work for me. I will do the translation a little bit as soon as the banner appears on the screen. Ok, perfetto. Ok, abbiamo fatto la prima parte di domande riguardanti il sound e la parte proprio dei suoni dei funeral, e io ho voluto aggiungere anche quanto il loro ambiente, persone, la loro società come norvegesi li abbia influenzati. In questo senso loro iniziano a mettere le basi dopo aver molto sentito i Paradise Lost, per esempio, quindi quel mood funereo, particolare, oscuro. Non ho capito?
Anche Candlemas ha detto, vero?
Sì.
Grandi.
E praticamente la sua situazione era di creare qualcosa di estremamente, si può dire funerico, cioè quindi funerario, no? Bello intenso, che non c'era ancora, quindi andare oltre questi diktat che erano già stati messi con queste band. Alla domanda appunto di quanto appunto il suo ambiente l'abbia influenzato, lui dice che dalla natura prende molte ispirazioni, tant'è vero che ha un cottage di famiglia dove lui spesso si reca in natura e soprattutto vede le atmosfere norvegesi come parte integrante del suono dei funeral, quindi non ci può, sicuramente se fossero nati in un altro posto avrebbero suonato diverso, quindi anche questo il marchio di fabbrica che li ha contraddistinti per non ripetersi e per continuare questa cosa da tanti anni, insomma.
Sarei stato curioso di vederli in Italia, se suonavo in Italia, vabbè.
Comunque, facciamo la domanda di Arrogat. So we have the first question from our viewers. By the way, our friend Arrogat, that we really greet with enthusiasm. He say, can you please ask which artist, even if not from the metal, let you go and pursue you to play music? What musician let you being inspired from your first compositions?
It's I think it's a mixture of Kiss. You know, I discovered Kiss when I was 5 years old. Probably the Beatles and classical music. You know, like Grieg, Shostakovich, those type of bands, and ABBA actually.
ABBA.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
It all started back then in the late 70s.
Oh, really interesting that choices. But something that I want to say that is in common with all the Norwegian extreme metal bands is the love of for Kiss. Each one that we interviewed, black metal, death metal, and stuff, everything started from Kiss.
They were very big,
curious.
very big in Norway. So I know that Kiss have inspired, you know, a lot of the black metal bands, and me not playing black metal, but they were really, really big in especially Norway in the 70s and the 80s. So I think that's a key in that perspective.
Okay. So meanwhile, the maestro makes the next question in Italian. I'm translating really quickly this for Arrogat. Praticamente i suoi artisti sono gli ABBA, i Kiss, i Beatles, quelli che hanno fatto iniziare. E allora io ho detto che è molto comune questo fatto dei Kiss, soprattutto dagli artisti norvegesi.
Metal anche molto. Sì.
E quindi ha detto che erano veramente un nome fortissimo nei primi anni 70. Quindi spero che... prima non ho citato i Black Sabbath pure, che ha citato lui, quindi...
No, però i Kiss mica tanto, nel Black soprattutto un casino, tanto.
Esatto.
Ma Hank, visto che tu sei proprio il fondatore dei Funeral dal 1991 e sei il batterista, una domanda veramente basilare: quanto è difficile suonare Funeral Doom con la batteria per trovare quei tempi lenti, laceranti, ossessivi?
Okay, so since we are both drummers and we know that you are both founding member and drummer of Funeral, the maestro wants to let you know in a word that basically it's going as fast as possible. How was playing Funeral Doom, and also what are your way to play in your own way Funeral Doom, and and the sound that you want to achieve via the drums and drumming?
You know, I started out playing drums because there were no drummers available. I am originally a guitar player.
Oh, okay.
I come from a smaller town outside of Oslo where no band even played metal. So getting a drummer that wanted to play Doom was impossible. So I had to do it myself. And I think it had a sort of a natural progression, you know. In the mid-90s, I started playing drums for other bands as well, just to develop my own techniques and style, really. So I played in a black metal band called Odium. I played in Myrkskog, and I played in The Flesh, sort of a technical death metal band. All these 4 bands together. So I didn't do anything else for several years. So that's really the baseline for my development, I think.
Okay, and speaking about the early days of you approaching the drums from another perspective, which is the guitar. At that time, I think no YouTube, no some stuff like that to learn. How you figured out to learn the basics and the fundamental of metal as a blast beat?
I bought a tablature book of. Are you asking on the drums or the guitars?
Both, actually.
Yeah. I bought the tablature book of And Justice for All by Metallica and learned every riff, every song. I didn't do anything else for a couple of years, just staying in my room and playing the Metallica songs. That's how I learned the guitar. The drums was really just, you know, playing around at the rehearsal place with the other guys, and I found out that I could be a worse guitarist than a drummer, actually. And I, after a while, found out that I enjoyed playing the drums even more than playing the guitars. So it was a very natural.
Natural approach.
Yeah.
Okay, really interesting. Okay. So again, translating and going to the next one. Praticamente ci sono delle cose molto interessanti, perché lui inizia come chitarrista, però lui viveva in una cittadina molto sperduta,
quindi poi dopo come
Oslo,
batterista,
e quindi lui è diventato batterista perché non trovava chitarristi, insomma. Che infatti lui ha fatto anche tante esperienze suonando in altre band come gli Odeum, facevano black metal, oppure altre band technical death metal. e quindi praticamente il suo timbro sonoro viene proprio dal fatto di suonarsi le canzoni e sentire i pezzi, perché poi venendo da un'altra prospettiva come chitarrista lui è partito suonando i pezzi di Metallica, quindi Justice for All per esempio, si è comprato il libro con tutte le tablature e suonava le batterie che gli trovavano, che gli capitavano, insomma. Con gli anni, nonostante non abbia abbandonato lo studio della chitarra, la batteria la trova più vicina al suo stile, quindi il suo approccio è totalmente autodidatta, totalmente naturale, progressione naturale, fatta di suonare in giro, impegnarsi sullo strumento e appunto ascoltare la musica e suonare quella musica. Quindi è un approccio molto primitivo che secondo me si sente molto nei pezzi, perché poi abbiamo quel drumming roccioso che li contraddistingue in qualche modo.
Allora, nel 2006 uscì From Their Owns, se la pronuncia giusta, dei Funeral. Se notiamo, in questa copertina c'è un filo spinato. Questo filo spinato cosa significa? Il significato vero? C'è un qualcosa sotto? Oppure è solo un semplice disegno?
Okay, as you can see, Hank, from the picture on the screen, of course, thank you to the guys of Encyclopedia Medallum to make our job easier.
Yeah.
The next question is about from these wounds, this album. So the maestro wants to focus you on the cover art, and his question is about both about the meaning of the cover art and if you guys did this concept together with the artist that made the artwork, if you do it by yourself. So he wants to know the meaning and let's call the behind the scenes regarding this cover art, and also if you have some particular memory of that session that you want to share with us, that maybe it's funny or maybe it's I don't know, it's interesting to know for us that are fan of the band and listen these records. You can also share it if you want.
Sure. No, as we still do, we do everything ourselves. I didn't paint the last cover though, but all the ideas and even all the pictures we pick out ourselves. I have a very strong opinion about both songs, song structure, the themes, the colors of the cover art, and all that kind of things. And if you have read the lyrics on the From These Wounds album, it's very it's about. It's not maybe about those kind of usual themes that a lot of funeral doom bands talk about. It's more a criticism of society, really, and it's even in historical context. It's like the previous singer Frode wrote all those lyrics, and it's even about the Holocaust. So I think the barbed wire, the rusty barbed wire, was really fitting for the concept of the album as a whole.
Okay. So you guys usually do everything by yourself. So when it comes from the let's call the package, so the album, the music. And about some memories during this recording session, you have to tell to us something. By the way, a lot of people are commenting that it's a masterpiece. For example, Luzzedo is from these ones, it's a masterpiece, he said. So you guys, I think that you had a lot of positive feedback about this album, since it's also my first one that I listened back in the days when I approached your band. So if you have something to share, maybe also related to the lyrics that maybe someone misunderstood, I think that it's good to have just like opinions, so people can, because we invite people to go back on these records and re-listen it after they get this information. So if you want to share with us, we really appreciate that.
Yeah, the album as a whole was written in a pretty short time compared to how we often write records. I think all the songs was written in about 6 months or something. instrumentally. And when we had all the songs finished, everything was sent to our singer Frode, and he had completely, how should I put it? Well, I didn't give him any guidelines regarding the vocal lines that time around, because I knew he really could pull it off.
Okay.
So when we wrote a song, and when we finished a song, it was sent over to him, and he just recorded whatever he really wanted. And it should be said that a couple of months ago, I actually discovered a couple of alternative versions that we turned down. Actually, that's pretty cool. I had totally forgot about that. So in a sort of a re-release session, we would definitely include those songs. Pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool to have like the alternatives, so people can be aware also about the process and the evolution of a band that during the composition when they go to the final product. But for example, people say, okay, you guys write, record, and publish. No, it's usually more complex, the whole situation. Ok, voglio ribadire alle persone che se vogliono fare commenti a Ek, scrivano nei commenti. So I want to say to the people that if they want to make their own question to you, Ek, just they can write in the comments. We are usually reading everyone and everything that they ask. Okay. Before going to the next question, I just want to say hi to all the guys that are watching from France, that are messaging me on the Telegram group. Thank you guys for the support. Ok. Salutiamo i nostri amici dalla Francia che ci stanno seguendo, mi hanno scritto su Telegram, mi pare, o no, su WhatsApp, quindi grazie amici.
Salute.
E niente, abbiamo parlato di questa parte di questo bellissimo album che è From These Wounds, dove per la prima volta si dà carta bianca al cantante per realizzare le linee vocali. Piccolo spoiler, sempre in esclusiva per il Calice Nero, quando ci sarà la re-release di quest'album, ancora non lo sanno, saranno incluse le versioni alternative di alcune canzoni che sono state registrate ma sono state scartate, quindi aspettatevi una nuova versione con delle nuove canzoni scartate al momento della release.
Quindi seconda parte di interview, ok.
Esatto. Per quanto riguarda i temi sociali, i temi sono stati sociali, quindi non sono stati come tutte le altre band Funeral Doom, ma hanno avuto una caratterizzazione più riguardo alla società che ci circonda. Si è parlato dell'olocausto come tema centrale, e il filo spinato rappresenta proprio le barriere appunto dei campi di concentramento. E quindi penso che poi la loro tematica sia più diciamo di critica alla società e penso anche all'ipocrisia della società stessa che poi permette barbarie del genere, quindi penso che il tema lo abbiamo accolto diciamo da subito. Però ecco, questo fatto della cover art e della registrazione, della composizione, quello che vuole precisare è che sebbene ci siano etichette sotto, loro hanno sempre prodotto tutto da loro, quindi hanno scelto le immagini, hanno curato il booklet, hanno curato le registrazioni e curato la produzione. From These Ones, rispetto alle canzoni e agli album che loro di solito fanno, ha avuto anche un periodo di composizione piuttosto breve, quindi diciamo che il loro album è quello più di impatto che abbiano fatto, quindi loro facevano le canzoni, la mandavano al cantante, il cantante ci cantava sopra, dandogli completamente libertà. Di solito Ek mandava pure delle linee vocali, quindi al cantante, però in questo caso non l'ha fatto. Esatto, e quindi siccome lui suona anche la chitarra del principale compositore, la principale mente di The Funeral, comunque come qualsiasi mastermind vuole stare al centro della situazione, però in questo caso c'è stato un lavoro di squadra piuttosto ampio. Vai maestro.
Salutiamo lo Zeddo perché è appunto uno dei capi dei Krieg, non dei Krieg, adesso mi sfugge il nome del gruppo Black, scusate ragazzi, adesso mi sfugge il nome, figura di merda.
Maestro, salutiamo anche Matteo che ci segue sempre.
Ciao Matteo, perché è venuto veramente di persona, consegnami CD che esce il 9 maggio, poi vi dico il nome perché adesso figura di merda, veramente totale, perché mi sono...
No, si è emozionato il maestro, perché ci sono i funerali.
Creo.
Esatto.
Mi sono salvato,
Okay.
non arrabbiarti. Ciao Peter. Anche ora come ora, nel nuovo millennio, quello che vediamo, quanto è più complesso creare funeral rispetto agli anni 90? Quanto la tecnologia può aver aiutato il funeral a livello di sample e synth rispetto alla parte precedente del vecchio millennio?
Okay, so the maestro wants to discuss with you about the evolution of the technology in the musical environment, so about the synths and the production, and he wants to ask you how was different and difficult back then, and make a comparison between the back then with the production and nowadays with this aspect, focusing on the part of the sounds and let's call sound design, just to make it quicker.
It's definitely the differences between analog recording and digital recordings. You know, everything from the 90s was recorded analog. You know, on tapes, and you know, for doing that, it was of course always expensive getting into the studio. So the band had to be really well rehearsed, you know, to save time and money. Nowadays it's really not that important because we do almost everything in our own studios. You know, we just buy the equipment, and you know, we don't pay per hour. We did that in the 90s. That's really the main differences, I think. You know, recording the instruments flawlessly. That was a big deal, you know, for saving time and money.
And you think that this kind of transition between digital and analog, between so the past analog and the present in digital, affected in what way also the way that the album sounds like? Because some people are complaining about the standardization of metal production, drums that are recorded in only way and basically with samples, or bass that also is doing with programmed. So because of course the process can be quicker, but also the situation is different. So in your point of view, with funeral, can be like something like in the middle, so using the analog the analog spirit but with the modern technique. I don't know what to say. What do you think about
if you ask what I prefer, I'm definitely an analog man. Definitely, you know, I think the digital equipment sort of make you lazy in a way. You know, you don't have to rehearse that much. You don't have to maybe push yourself as much because you can fix everything afterwards anyway. So I'm definitely a fan of the analog way, except for the budget problems, you know.
Okay, perfect. Quindi praticamente, maestro, il problema era più che altro nel manco tanto lo spirito, cioè lui fa un discorso totalmente diverso da quello che... Ok, non trovo il banner. Ok, now the banner is on, perfetto. Okay.
Oggi mica alla grande.
No, praticamente lui faceva un discorso più che altro della situazione analogico-digitale. Quindi prima le band devono provare, chiudersi in studio, spendere tanto. Adesso diciamo il digitale permetterà di essere più veloci. In qualche modo rende più pigri, però non c'è più il problema del budget, perché prima era un problema molto consistente.
Ha risolto molto.
Se notate, oggigiorno c'è una democraticizzazione del suono, quindi a meno che non trovi il caso umano di turno, e purtroppo ci è capitato, il disco non sarà mai una merda fondamentalmente, questo lo dico io. Mentre adesso con le apparecchiature digitali si permette comunque anche alle band più piccole di non andare, I'm making some examples to the guys. So for the small bands, to achieve the Morrison Sound Studio, you cannot get to the Morrison. Quindi tu puoi fare quello che vuoi col digitale, però questo ti rende un po' più secca come cosa, un po' più, non dico plastica, perché poi ragazzi, io qua sto nel mio studio, nel mio home studio, faccio produzioni,
diciamo,
io lavoro
è più velocizzato,
quindi non voglio fare quello che scusa del piatto mi mangia, però effettivamente secondo me bisognerebbe mettere insieme cioè spirito analogico e comodità del digitale, non far suonare tutto di plastica, ma cercare di trovare il giusto bilanciamento tra le cose. Intanto salutiamo Agamante che ci segue sempre, e noi salutiamo calorosamente.
Saluto Samuel King e Maria Sil, nuovi seguaci del Calice Nero. Infatti, appunto, nel digitale ti velocizza di più rispetto alla
Sì,
come era prima,
ma
negli
guarda,
anni
il fatto
90.
è quello che tu puoi anche fare tante, ti spiegava Eck che poteva fare,
Certo,
ci sono meno prove,
certo,
poi
certo.
tutti quanti dal proprio home studio, quindi
È
è più
vero.
comodo.
Certo,
Per
certo.
esempio, se vuoi un suono di un certo amplificatore, non devi andarlo a comprare per forza, perché o ti compri o lo profili da qualcuno che ce l'ha, o ti compri l'impulso. Cioè, è tutto diverso. Io penso che il mondo moderno, come diceva
Ok.
qualcuno, serve, cioè in alcuni aspetti non deve essere preso nella sua totalità, né dire no a prescindere. Secondo me il bilanciamento giusto è quello necessario.
Da saperlo usare, in poche parole, in
Esatto,
tutte le
esatto.
cose.
Non abusare delle troppe comunità.
Certo, certo, certo.
Fai un'altra domanda.
Adesso una domanda
Anzi, fate una
abbastanza...
domanda ad Ec, che noi abbiamo tante domande,
Ok.
fatele anche voi. Ok,
Sono in
quindi
manda fanculo
maestro.
anche adesso.
Okay,
Allora,
maestro, with the next question. I hope that the guys, I translated it added something for the guys that are not aware about the dynamics of the studio, because of course it's darker near me, but I'm doing this episode in my home studio too, that I am doing for my band and recorded for the other band. So I explained to the people that nowadays the process is literally different than before, and I don't want to spit in my own plate that the work that I do, but it's a slang thing in Italian. Okay, but I don't want to critique the digital world because I work on digital. But if you guys want to achieve the Morris sound, Tampa death metal sound, you can achieve in digital without moving any feet from your own. So it's basically what I said. It's having the best of the both world, in my own opinion. So without criticizing the digital way of recording too much, because we work with that nowadays. Okay, maestro, with the next question.
allora, sì, allora, Hank, entriamo nella dinamica della morte. Funerale. Se dovete organizzare il vostro funerale come esseri umani, quale sarebbe la track perfetta per introdurre dalla vita alla morte, e quale tipo di funerale i funeral stessi vorrebbero? Immersi nella natura o immersi all'interno del fuoco con delle fiamme calde e accoglienti? Adesso
Okay,
parla tu.
so we got a little tricky with the next one, but I hope that anything cannot be lost in translation. By the way, the maestro wants to give you a keyword, which is death and funeral. Some keywords, death and funeral. So playing with those words, he wants to ask you in your own way and also in the way that fits the moods of the band, which this word means to you and your band, and which you have to put yourself in a funeral mood. So basically, in a funeral, which kind of funeral can suit with the band? So for example, the Christian funeral, the pagan funeral, different celebrations, stuff like that. So Maestro wants to go further and make you explain this side that is behind. He thinks that is behind the music that you play.
You know, I have a huge respect for religion, and I think, you know, a Christian funeral is a very, very sort of a, how should I put it? It's both very beautiful and very sad at the same time, and that's you know, part of why I chose the band name in the first place. I wanted to create music that was both beautiful and, you know, dark. So I think that, okay, what really does our music sound like? Well, doesn't it really sound like a funeral? You know, so I really think that, you know, a big funeral in a big Christian church is one of the most beautiful things I ever experienced, really.
Okay, so and about the second K word, which is death. So, what are your relationship with this situation? After, of course, you explaining why you choose the name and what aims you to use that kind of mood. But the second part of the question from the maestro was about this word, in particular in your relationship with that, as something to create the music. So I don't know if I translated what he said in a good way, but I think that you understood what I want to say.
Yeah. I totally understand. And I think death has sort of followed me really from when I was 2 years old. I was just millimeters away from being run over by a garbage truck, but it hit my friend instead, so I survived. And up in the teens and up in the early 20s, I lost a lot of my two best friends in the band. They died in the 20s and early 30s. So for me, it's sort of I'm really a good friend of death. I don't fear death, but it's definitely inspiring because I've lost a lot of really good friendship, and everybody knows that losing a good friend is really heavy, really difficult, and that has inspired me a lot. Motivated me really to both write lyrics and music. I think so. It's the real deal when I write the music. It's not. I don't pretend like being sad or whatever. It's the truth.
Okay. So 100% truthful. So what we listen, what we can read from the lyrics is from experience that you had. Really hard feelings. But I think that if some hardness can be translated and transformed into art, it's always a piece of things that is creating from something inside.
Absolutely.
So maybe you wrote it something in a particular way, in a particular situation, and other people that are living something different can relate, but with their own stuff. So the beauty of I think so. The beauty is also to the interpretation on what you write, so people can have their own stuff and can get into it much more. I think. Do you agree with this analysis?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on, because I always say that we write for ourselves, and we really do. We write for ourselves, but I always and have been receiving for years and years, both letters and messages from fans everywhere that they sort of they often say that they find some kind of what's the English word again? Oh, sorry.
No, don't worry. Don't worry.
They find a sort of a calmness in reading the lyrics and listening to the music, and I think I couldn't ask for anything more. Really, it's a huge bonus as a musician.
And really, guys, after that, I think that you need to go really in depth about funeral, because I'm got written really hard in the chest, no? So after this interview, for sure, we'll listening some of your song in a different way, because we at Il Calice Nero, we try to connect with the artist, as we are a musician too, because we have the passion to go and understand the parts. So we have one side, the musician is another side. So the connection between fans and musician that wrote something can be stronger, and this can make people go really in depth and try to emphasize themselves into underline some aspect that at first listening cannot underline in the first place. So I will take some moments to translate what you said, since I think it's really important, even if it's one of the best things that I've translated for this program, since it's really strong. So thank you for sharing with us. Allora, praticamente, ragazzi, la situazione è bella intricata. Infatti l'ho ringraziato perché ha dato veramente una spiegazione incredibile. Per quanto riguarda la parte funerale, lui è molto rispettoso delle tradizioni e delle cerimonie religiose in generale, quindi non ne fa un aspetto, diciamo, sociale. lui è stato colpito molto da delle cerimonie in grandi cattedrali, quindi funerali cristiani, che gli hanno spinto a creare questo tipo di musica. Quindi Funeral nasce appunto dalla creazione di una musica che sia bella ma oscura, come appunto una cerimonia di un funerale, che è triste, ma comunque nella nostra cultura, in quanto europei, dà un misticismo in sé.
Avvolgente.
Avvolgente, anche di connessione e di enfasi, ma soprattutto anche di cioè di non dimenticarsi delle persone che purtroppo non ci sono più. E a proposito di questa cosa, lui sottolinea molto la parte della morte, siccome è stato lui molto vicino tante volte. Ricorda che si è salvato per miracolo da un incidente con un camion della nettezza urbana che lo stava proprio travolgendo, oppure anche da membri amici che sono passati via. Lui dice: per quanto scrivo questa musica non faccio finta di essere triste, non lo scrivo con questa enfasi, ma lo scrivo perché io ho un rapporto di quasi amicizia con la morte e con queste sensazioni oscure, quindi io vado a traslare le mie sensazioni all'interno delle canzoni, e quando le persone mi scrivono sottolineando questa cosa, io rimango molto colpito perché dà una sorta di calma a questa situazione che è impetuosa all'interno del proprio animo. E io poi ho voluto aggiungere una cosa, ho detto: secondo me è buono che dopo questa intervista ci andiamo un po' a sentire i Funeral, perché sicuramente dopo queste parole, che sono belle, cioè,
Vi consiglio.
no, colpiscono veramente forte, ma li possiamo sentire verso una nuova linfa, perché noi quello che facciamo nel Calice Nero, provando a suonare anche noi e scrivendo musica anche noi nel Calice Nero, comunque siamo sia dalla parte dell'intervistato che dell'intervistatore. Quindi oltre a chiarirvi delle cose su come avvengono le registrazioni, su come avvengono le cose, noi vogliamo dare una connessione tra noi e voi, no? E quindi soprattutto vogliamo darvi questa sorta di misticismo tra l'artista e l'ascoltatore. E poi ho detto: scrivere di un argomento così particolare, così oscuro, in qualche modo fa in modo tale che le tue emozioni vengono trasposte su carta, ma chi le legge viene colpito in base alla propria situazione, quindi ognuno poi interpreta questa cosa in questa maniera. Lui ha confermato questa cosa, che dice: è vero, noi scriviamo musica per noi stessi, però ci fa molto piacere quando il nostro messaggio viene veicolato nella giusta maniera ed abbiamo una risposta sul campo, perché appunto per quando si scrive musica per se stessi, fare musica, fare arte è qualcosa che, scusate, nasce sempre da una condivisione. Quindi la condivisione è tutto quando poi gli scrivono i fan, e lui è molto contento di quello che è riuscito a trasmettere attraverso la sua musica in tutti questi anni. Quindi ragazzi, dopo questo ci andiamo a sentire i Funeral.
Sì, perché poi, anche se non c'è più, però salutiamo Einar Fredriksen, che ci ha lasciato nel 2003, quindi merita rispetto, total respect Einar Fredriksen.
Sì, parlare di questo, insomma.
Infatti. Una cosa, Hank, se torniamo proprio al debutto nel 1993, mi ha incuriosito particolarmente Tristesse, questa demo. Mi ha incuriosito la copertina, la cover. Ci puoi decifrare tutti i disegni che vanno a correlare la musica con questo bianco e nero, con questa tonalità di grigio? Bianco, grigio.
So we are going some step back to Tristesse. I think this. I hope that it's correct, the pronunciation about this demo. So the maestro wants to ask you about the cover art, since he was really impressed about this drawing and his art. No?
Oh, so really?
Since you said that everything from the cover art is made from you guys, I think that asking to you about that particular one, it's appropriate to basically underline some meaning, is also to recall some memories about the first release ever of Funeral back in the days, you know, back in, I think, 1993, if
that's correct. Yeah.
Mistaken. Okay.
Yeah, I think that was the cover with the first version of the logo. I think it's only the logo that's drawn by us, but you know, back then, if you wanted to use any pictures or whatever, you had to go to the library, and the library was about 100 meters away from our rehearsal place. So we used quite a lot of time going through books with pictures that we thought that would fit the demo and the music and the lyrics in a way that stood a bit out, and that sort of had traditions within the doom metal genre as well. The kind of graphics that sort of it could be religious, but it is not. The problem with this cover is that a lot of, especially black metal bands in Norway, they thought we were a Christian band.
Okay.
But it's far from it. It's just a guy is dying and he's going somewhere.
I know that it's pretty difficult nowadays to remember, but do you remember the book when you took this picture? Which one?
No, sorry.
Because I can imagine, but it was not me not asking this, because of course I can imagine you go to the library, search hundreds of books, find the right way. So I'm sure that as soon as you got it, say, okay, let's do this. Let's use this one. Okay.
I can't remember any details from that, but I think we pressed in the cover the name of the it's a medieval painting.
Okay.
I think it says in the cover of the demo what kind of painting it is, but I can't really remember. Sorry.
Okay. So you wrote only the logo.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about the sound in general? So you guys, it was your first experience in the studio. How was it?
Definitely. Yeah.
How was it getting in the studio back in the 1993?
It was the very first time we entered a studio, and unfortunately, that's very easy to listen to hear on the recording. I think I think for me it's really painful listening to it because everything is off. It's the sound and the mix is bad, and the playing is even worse. I think that's the demo is it's not my proudest moment. But we were teenagers, so that's at the time we were very satisfied. A lot of reverb and that sort of stuff. But in hindsight, we could definitely do it better.
But let's see this like this. It's the start of something that is going into the evolution, developing through the years. So without the demo, we cannot have all the release of you guys. So even if you're not satisfied, maybe we can say that it's a kind of milestone. So from that point, you guys keep on doing it and develop such great records as we discussed it before. And just to not say only from these rounds, I want to say also oratorium or tragedy, in my own opinion too. Tragedy, sorry, in my own opinion. Okay. So, Maestro, you want to ask other things, or I can translate? Se vuoi domandare altro oppure traduco?
Traduci.
Ok, translation free. So, allora, loro hanno disegnato il logo.
È l'intervista però, complimenti.
Ma è molto bella, veramente. Fateci sapere, ragazzi, vi piace, commentate e condividete.
E scrivete, domandate, cazzo, raga, non fatevi pregare.
Allora, praticamente dice che loro, per quanto riguarda il logo, l'hanno disegnato loro. Poi loro andavano in questa libreria molto lontana da loro e a trovare delle foto. Quindi loro le foto l'hanno prese dalla libreria, dalle foto di un libro medievale. Dice che chi ha la demo legge da dove è stato preso. E non si ricorda però che libro è, perché tempo. Più che altro si ricorda perché è la prima esperienza in studio di sempre sua.
Certo.
E non gli piace il missaggio, non gli piace i troppi riverberi, non gli piace troppe cose. Dice non ne va tanto orgoglioso, però io ho detto guarda, forse
però è figo,
vediamola così da quel momento poi avete fatto cose belle. Okay, there is a comment I think related to the last question about death from that I'm reading to you. We don't fear death, but pain and separation, the heaviness and at the same time the delicate sadness of funeral talks to my soul, especially that aspect. So thanks for the depth of your poetics. Your music's really is really hard to feed the soul, and your words proves it. So I think that these sentences can explain by themselves the core meaning of what we wanted to ask, and we are really glad that Ek appreciated the question and answered in that way, so we can go, as I always said, in depth about the artists that we listen, because of course they are human beings as everyone else, but since they are artists, they want to express themselves in a way that is good for them, but also they want to share everything with the audience. So if not, they will not publish the albums, but they keep from themselves. Okay, so there is another question from Cart. Finally, people is getting into question. We are really happy about that. Okay, as you guys have thought to record new songs with female vocals and create an album 100% like this, like in the past?
Veramente interessante questa domanda, molto interessante.
Are you asking if we are going to record a new album with female vocals?
Yeah, or you guys have the possibility of thinking about doing it in the future?
Absolutely, I would definitely record. I don't think an entire album, but I've already spoken with Toril, the singer on the Tragedies album, and she is probably going to contribute on the upcoming album.
Okay.
On one song.
Okay, so for the guys that are watching, a little news for you all that are, of course, from the words of Ek about this. They can have the possibility to contribute to some, if I'm not mistaken, some songs or only one in the future. Okay, so in the future can be this possibility to have this let's call featuring again, or this contribution. I think it's better to say featuring. Ok, quindi ci sarà la possibilità, ragazzi, di avere la voce femminile, la stessa di Tragedies, all'interno di qualche brano come contributo, ma non come album intero. Quindi piccola news per voi, sempre in esclusiva per il Calice Nero. Non solo abbiamo smascherato il Kernunnos Fest prima di tutti, ma abbiamo saputo anche questa notizia da parte dei Funeral prima di tutti quanti. Quindi ci fa molto piacere questa cosa.
Quindi diciamo dei piccoli featuring vocali.
Esatto.
Ok.
No, praticamente sta proprio la cantante di Tragedy che contribuirà proprio nella...
Anche le ultime due domande, perché poi ci sarà la domanda sacrale del Calice Nero, quella che porterà veramente al sacro onore di tutto ciò che è il Calice Nero. Ma la penultima domanda, anche se ti chiedo di scrivermi una poesia mentale attraverso la tua musica, che titolo avrebbe questa poesia? Attraverso un sax con un violino, che avevate anche già avuto una violinista veramente molto brava.
Okay, so just to let you know, we are close to the end of the show. By the way, thank you for your time and your will to answer our question. Really appreciated. Also, we really appreciated the conversation and what we achieved together in this episode. So thank you very much from me and Alan for that. We have got the last two questions for you. Not the last question, because I don't remember the correct word to not say the last question. That damn English. Sorry for the mistakes. By the way, this question of the maestro is about as you already had in the past records, the violin, for example, some atmosphere violin. He maybe also say saxophone, because he said because he's really fan of the dark jazz, the jazz noir, the maestro. So he wants to ask you if you have to deal with violin or some, let's call the weird instrument like saxophones or brass like this, and you have to create and pop up like in right now, no, a title of a poem. Which kind of title can both fit those vibes of those instruments and the music of funeral? I don't know if I get the question, but the maestro is saying yes, so okay, I get it.
I didn't get that. Sorry.
Okay. I try to use simpler word. Okay, the maestro asks you, since you got violin in the past, to combine that mood with your music. Okay, but not only violin. He says also, since he's a big jazz noir fan, the saxophone, for example. And the maestro asks to you, if you have to create a title of a poem combining violin and your music, but translating all this stuff via some words, which kind of title you will use? Like with your fantasy, no? Playing with your fantasy, which kind of things you will...
First of all, I would never use a saxophone, though. But
Okay.
I would definitely use violins, trumpets, brass and stuff like that. Never saxophone. I hate saxophone. But if I would have to put some words into that kind of mood, I think it's for me it's doom metal, plain and simple. That's what I always have called my music, even though we have used both female singers, male singers, violins and whatnot. I've always called it doom metal. Other people have called it funeral doom metal.
Ok, so, maestro, no, non ci piacciono i sassofoni. Comunque, sempre la parola doom metal come
però faccio i complimenti alla violinista che avevano preso, Sareta, che è veramente bravissima. Complimenti, eh. A te l'ultima domanda.
Okay, just before the last question is a comment from Kart. He's asking about if you guys have the chance to come in Italy as soon as possible, if you guys have some requests of booking in Italy. And in case, guys, go to the official pages of the social media and follow Funeral for the next news. But Ek, if you have some news, can you share with us something like that?
Italy? I've never been to Italy personally either, so we would absolutely love playing in Italy. I know we have a lot of fans down there, but unfortunately there are no plans going to Italy in near future. We have maybe one gig in Oslo this year, but apart from that, we're busy in studio now recording a new album. So I don't think there will be any live, any concerts this year, actually.
Okay. So, guys, be patient, ok? So...
Prima di tradurre fai l'ultima domanda. Così
ok, quindi non ci sono dei concerti programmati per l'Italia che sono impegnati in studio. Siamo un po' pazienti, facciamo in modo che magari per il futuro si può fare, perché lui non è stato mai in Italia e sa che c'è un seguito in Italia. I don't know if you guys have some booking agency, some promoter, some guys interested, or they have to contact you for the future.
Contact me, definitely.
Ok. Quindi ragazzi, se c'è qualche promoter in linea, se no li contattiamo noi. Per i funeral vi facciamo sapere. Comunque in questo caso sono impegnati in studio. Ok.
No, non diciamo niente. Prego, l'ultima domanda.
So, last question for you, Ek. By the way, thanks again for being part of the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, it's really a pleasure, man. We hope to also do another episode like this, and we hope to shake the hands in person in Italy. So,
yeah,
the maestro will pass me the contact, so we will really looking forward to have this particular moment. So, if you guys are down to, maybe in the next future, when everything is set to release, the door of Il Calice Nero, if you guys agree, is always open to concentrate a new episode only for the new stuff.
Cool.
We would like to have you back. It's really totally appreciated. And by the way, the last question is a little bit comic, so it's a little fun. We end up to make this with Paul Mazurkiewicz, who was our first episode of this podcast with Cannibal Corpse back in last year. Yeah, last year. Wow, time flies. So it was like seeing our logo, which you can see on the screen, the Calice, no? And
Yep.
say what you guys will put in the Calice. So after that question to us, we end up to make this question to everyone to describe themselves. So I want to ask you, Ek, you have this Calice, no? What you will put inside this Calice to represent, with a drink, with whatever you want, Funeral as a band?
No vino, no birra.
Definitely Definitely red wine from northern Italy, from the Piedmont district. Definitely.
And if you have to
Divino.
change, since a lot of people is saying beer and wine, I really appreciate the fact that you mentioned Italian wine, but I'm suggest you to try some of South Italian wine, which is, in my opinion, better than the North one. Sorry for the guys of the North. A little bit patriotic, my side, no?
Pop me some names.
Yeah, I will write you in the chat after the show.
Cool.
If you want to stay, we will greet you after the show. By the way, if not wine, which kind of drink you would like to pick for describe your band? I think that I think that wine
probably mead. Probably mead then.
Okay, mead.
Yeah,
but I think that wine is perfect for the funeral. Cosa ne pensi, maestro? Il vino è perfetto per loro.
Però anche un liquore particolare aromatizzato con diverse erbe, no?
The maestro is suggesting some liquor with mint and
really,
yeah,
interesting.
Okay.
Very interesting.
By the way, maestro, you of course do not understand because you were doing other things, because the maestro is always 24/7
così posso paracolizzato, che cazzo.
contacting bands to make episode, but Ek wants us after the show to write to us some names of some good wines and good liquors on the private chat that we have on this platform. So we'll stay like 5 minutes and make like a list of things that he should try. Ok, vuole proprio una lista di cose da provare alcoliche, quindi ha chiesto dopo l'intervista di rimanere un 5 minuti in diretta per scrivergli tutta la
così è.
Sì.
Ok, allora mi prendo carta e penna.
Ok, maestro is got pen and paper, and quindi la faccio io al finale di episodio. Ok, guys, so thank you again for Ek and for the guys that shared this interview. Thank you for your participation and all the people that are watching on YouTube, sorry, Facebook and YouTube. So thank you guys for your support. Go support the band Funeral. We will list all the social media pages in the description. Buy the merch, support the band, and we will stay tuned for the next release. As always, we see you in the future episode, and thank you for being with us. Quindi ragazzi, grazie ai Funeral.
Thank you guys.
Dimmi, lo sto facendo io il finale, perché tu devi vendere.
No, non è questione finale, è questione che ha detto Cart. Grazie ragazzi per questa fantastica serata, generica e gruppo. Questo è nulla.
Mi raccomando, rimanete insintonizzati per nuove esilaranti avventure. Il grande spettacolo, posso fare il finale? Il grande spettacolo non si ferma mai, il sacro codice d'onore 000, la morte vi renderà. E noi ci vediamo al prossimo video. Condividete e supportate Funeral e tutto quello che stanno facendo, perché noi non vediamo l'ora di sentire le nuove cose. Un abbraccio a tutti.
Au revoir,
e buona
ragazzi.
serata.
A
Bye.
domani, Septic Flash.